Ooh, I love that. Look at that.
All right. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Pit Life Barbecue Podcast, coming to you live from the Uncle Steve Shake Studios in Center Bondstead, New Hampshire. It's a podcast where we talk everything barbecue and a lot of other topics that you normally talk around the pit. And what is this? Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm live, apparently. Got my own notification this week. Wonderful. I like when that happens. Everything lines up. Bat, what's up, Daddy Dutch? NBL, what happened? Farm League for you. That's what I'm talking about, NBL. That's all Daddy Dutch right there. Matt Pereira, what's happening? All right. Couple seconds early. Got to keep you folks on your toes. But let's get into it. Tonight's episode brought to you by Uncle Steve's Shake. I was talking to Uncle Steve this morning, as a matter of fact, and making a little bit of changes to a couple things for the better. So always experimenting. But hey, when you have 18 amazing flavors, you got room to improve stuff and play around a little bit. But Steve is an incredible guy. Like I said, 18 amazing flavors. The sauce with no name. Steve wears all the hats. He is mixing. He's bottling, packaging, making labels, shipping, confirming the orders. He's doing it all. Any questions? Feel free to call him. He'll answer the phone. Feel free to email him. He'll answer the email. He might even call or email you if he has a question on your order. He just wants to make sure that you're satisfied and loving what you got. It's steered in the right direction and for the flavor profile you're looking for. Follow along with him at UncleSteveShake.com and also on Facebook, his group, Uncle Steve Shake Nation, for all the latest and greatest everything Uncle Steve Shake. Uncle Steve Shake, shake some on everything. Also brought to you by Joe's Meat Market, the diamond of Roy City, Texas. Gabriel and his crew do an amazing job. Incredible selection of proteins. You need a specific cut, he's got you covered. If you're looking for a protein he might not have, he'll work with you to get it in. Make your plans come to life. Produce brought in fresh daily. All us comp and backyard guys got us covered too. Many lines of rubs, sauces. Just came out with the Joe's Meat Market line of seasonings, which are incredible. Smoky wood products, splits, chips, chunks, pellets, got you covered there too. And while you're there, if you're feeling a little hungry, he's got you covered too. Gabriel's mom's behind the counter, whipping up the freshest, authentic Mexican cuisine out there. So stop in, get you what you need for the smoker and the grills and all the accoutrements to it, and get a plate while you're there. Sit down, talk barbecue, make a new lifelong friend. It's what it's all about. And so, like I said, if you're ever in the Roy City, Dallas, Fort Worth area, swing by Joe's Meat Market, see Gabriel and the crew, tell them I sent you. And remember, Joe's Meat Market for the win. Also brought to you by Lion Duck Sauce Company and Mass Backyard Barbecue present the New England CBA Triple Crown, bringing Texas and New England together for the ultimate barbecue showdown, a 3-state high-stakes competition across Vermont, Rhode Island, and New Hampshire. Do you have what it takes to dominate the Champions Barbecue Alliance's 4-meat competition, chicken, ribs, pork, brisket, and claim the Triple Crown? How about showing your skills in some epic jackpots, including dessert, chef's choice, sausage, and steak, calling all young pitmasters. The Kids Q jackpots give the next generation of barbecue legends a chance to show off their skills. Join the fiercest pitmasters as they fire up the smokers, lay down the rubs, and showcase their best. 3 states, 3 epic showdowns, 1 champion. These sponsors are bringing the heat with prizes including a guaranteed $10,000 payout for the Vermont competition and some unique trophies. Whether you're competing or coming to judge the feast, don't miss this barbecue lover's paradise. All right. Like I had said, Bat NBL, Daddy Dutch. Tom, what's happening? Eastwind Farms. Chris, what's up, brother? Dan Kimball, 16 Mesh. And I believe I saw my brother Tim Rogers in there, Up to Barbecue. What's up, brother? All right. All right, guys. We're going to have a great interview this evening. I've had...
It'll be an interview.
It's going to be great, Jeremy.
All right. I'll take your word.
One of our local promoters puts on incredible events. I've had the privilege of cooking his Granite State Barbecue Championship a couple years now, and it well organized. Anything you need, he's got. He thinks of it all. As little as bringing ice, having ice machines on property to load up the coolers, right there at your disposal. Run smooth, all that. Always willing to help, answer any questions, day or night. Send an email and he gets right back to you. Any questions you have. Still has a bunch of competitions going on, including a big one in New York, and we will get to that. But without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, from the Campground BBQ series, Mr. Jeremy Garrett. Okay, Jeremy, how are you, brother?
How are you? Thanks for having me on, Johnny. I really appreciate it.
Oh, man, no problem. Absolutely.
Yeah, that Granite State one is, when we're doing that at Budweiser, that was fun.
Yeah.
A lot of fun there. I literally have been home about 3 hours. Just got back from the New Jersey knockout, and boy, it definitely was a knockout. We had some really great competitions. Friday night we did we call it the Master of Chicken. It's a 1 meat chicken contest, and Grandpa Val's took it. They're great cooks, awesome cooks. And then Saturday, and we had a 4 meat Masters cook. I actually have to look and see. I don't even remember who won. Let's see who won. So we had the 4 meat Masters, and then we take like a 30-minute break, and then we'll do a 2 meat backyard. That way we're able to use the same set of judges, and we pull them all in. And actually the backyard teams seem to appreciate not having to get up at crack of dawn, and they're like, hey, I get to sleep in until 10 o'clock. So they love that. But our backyard comps, we had Beefy Bros. They're a great, fun group of folks. And they were out really late that night. So I don't know how they pulled it off, but they got first in both chicken and ribs. And then they were, the reserve for Saturday for backyard was Yard Dogs. It's kind of a newer team. It's really funny because Yard Dogs, his brother, is in Fire and Shine. So 2 competing backyard, brothers, and it's great watching the competition between those 2. They take it very personal. And then, our Masters winners on Saturday, Smoking Hogs with a 701. Yep.
Yeah. Good old Billy.
Yeah, and then reserve was glazed and infused. So that
Yes.
that was also the MABA Cup for New Jersey, and so they got the most points of a New Jersey team. So they took the MABA Cup, which includes a trophy and $250. So not bad there. But I have a great story about Bill, and we'll talk. You said we'll talk a little bit about my history. The
Yeah.
very first team I ever met in barbecue, when I started going to competitions to observe, watch, see what's going on, it was the snowshoe, and that was
Hmm.
held in Massachusetts. And it's like in March, so it's cold, and there's either snow on the ground, or I've been to some that there have been snow on the ground. So I went to it. And the very first team I meet was you know, this guy with his long beard, and I was like, wow, uh, is everyone in barbecue like this? I don't know. So, introduced myself to him, said I'm wanting to do a contest in Vermont, and he he was like, "Oh, a new contest in Vermont? Yeah, come on in, brother." And so he's been my longest and oldest and dearest friend in barbecue, and you know, nicest guy on the planet. And
He is.
that would have been probably 2015. So he won in 2014. I don't remember which one. He's won so many, but he won
Yeah.
one of the world champions. So he would have been coming off that win of 2014. And I'm this brand new guy. I don't know I'm meeting a world champion at all. Because he doesn't put on airs or anything. He's just Bill. And
That's it.
yeah, exactly. So Bill was probably the first guy to sign up for all the contests that I started doing, and it wasn't until maybe 3 years later, Bill he had done all of my contests, every single one, and then we started doing back to back contests and stuff, all of those, and he hadn't won any of them. I mean, this really great, awesome, wonderful world champion, and he hadn't won any of my contests. So on the Friday night at the New Jersey Knockout, which is the one we just got back from, on the Friday night, I was like, Bill, I mean, no disrespect whatsoever, but aren't you a world champion? And you're supposed to be like really good, but you haven't won any of my contests. And he took that as a personal affront, and he came and demolished the field the next day. It was awesome. It was awesome. And I was like, okay, so
Challenge accepted.
exactly. So when I was announcing the grand champion, I was like, "We're back to it, Billy," and it was awesome to announce him with the men on Saturday. But
Yep.
our Saturday was pretty full. So then after that, we had Saturday night. We do our Master of Ribs, which is a one meat rib cook. Grandpa Val's took that too. So really solid, cook and great friends of ours. Um, then Sunday, who the heck did we have on Sunday? So Sunday, our backyard winners, uh, grand champion was Fire and Shine. So the brother was like, "You
Mhm.
got reserved. I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna take grand in backyard." And then another really great team, the Rough Cut Q, a couple
Okay.
of brothers. They are amazing. Uh, Last year we had one of them break off, and he cooked on the Masters comp. We needed, like a 25th team or whatever at our Red, White, and Q contest. So he came in and he
Hmm.
cooked, and he started getting calls all over the place. I almost thought he was going to win, and his brother was also going to win. So that'll actually be pretty cool once we see that. And then our the Masters, we had three 180s, including a perfect by Piggy and Swine. Check
Ooh.
it. And I'm sure your listeners know a perfect means every single judge gave a perfect 9 score through for KTBS, which means there was no score dropped. So that was an amazing accomplishment. And then Boggs Hog got 180s of both pork and brisket. So they again demolished the fit. Boggs Hog owns New Jersey. I mean, they've won 7 out of the last, I don't know, 8 or 9 competitions there. It's really incredible. They had a 705, and then Good Googly Goo had reserve, and just a great great set of contests. The weather was really nice on Saturday and then really crappy on Sunday. But, that's where teams shine, I think, is,
Oh
kind of
yeah.
those adverse conditions. That's where where the good teams really, they really shine through. Um,
Yo, absolutely.
Very cool.
Absolutely. Now, going back to the brothers real quick, do
hmm
they happen to get parked next to each other?
I parked them within shouting distance, but they don't want to be next to each other. They want to kind of be close-ish. So,
Close,
that's I tried to kind of accommodate that so that they can kind of
close.
yell over the road and say, "Hey, look at my trophy." Oh yeah, well look
Yep.
at mine.
Close enough where you can put a seat in the middle and
Right.
enjoy the show.
Exactly. Bring some
That.
popcorn.
Oh,
Yeah, just a really great contest, set of contests. Had a lot of fun. Shout out to Triple Brook Campground, which was our host. They've been our host for 8 years now. They were
Mhm.
actually when during COVID in 2020, the only places we could do contests, and I tried everywhere. The only places we could do contests was in New Jersey, and so they were one of our locations. And Amazing Q, Jana Coulon from
Mhm.
New Hampshire, she said, if you do a contest on July 31st, that will make an auto for New Jersey. I was like, we already had contests. She was like, no, so and so won this. They're going with that. So and so is going with this. They won for that. So that means the whoever wins this, unless it's one of those two teams, will automatically get an invite to the Jack. And I was like, well, that would make a Friday competition, a Saturday competition, and a Sunday competition, a triple. Do you want a triple? And every we got enough teams to say yes to make it a qualifying event. And I think it was Pig and Whiskey that came in, and they won Friday. And they didn't care if they competed on Saturday or Sunday. They were just so happy to get in with that auto. So we have a lot of fun at our auto contest.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Let's see. Judge Wep, what's happening? Carlos Calzada, Smoking Lowe's Barbecue. What's up, brother? Won't be long now. Larry Vaughn, afternoon from Delaware. Hello,
Hey,
Jeremy.
Larry.
Great weekend as always. I'm going to give this the best I can. John Zervalakis,
Yeah,
thank you for tuning in. Brother Lep, what's happening? Mad Max, what's up? Dave, Big D, what's happening? Jen Lee, darling, how are you? Tim, yep. And Jen, yeah. Good evening to my favorite Yankee. Love you too, my dear. Can't wait to talk with you in a few weeks here. But that's a great weekend, Jeremy. Awesome, awesome. And like I said, um, you're a true professional. Um, your contests run smooth from the get go, from announcing to signups to you pulling out of the campground or wherever we're parking lot we're at. Just smooth and relaxed as can be, and you make it look easy because I know they are not.
well,
Especially with some of us barbecue guys, and I might fall into that category one here and there. We can be quite needy at times, so you handle it like a true gentleman, and my hat's off to you, and especially with how long you have been doing these contests. But let's get into that. Give us a little quick rundown who you are, where you from, all that, and then how you got into barbecue itself, and then into holding events, organizing events.
yeah, absolutely. So I grew up in Oklahoma. Lived on a very small farm. Uh, you know, Grew up in the outdoors. Loved everything about hunting and fish and wildlife and hiking and all of that kind of stuff. And so I actually got a degree in wildlife ecology. and a
Mhm.
minor in communications. So my wife always says I can talk to animals. Um, it's more about talking to people about animals is kind of what the intention of the degree is. So I actually worked for the State Wildlife Agency in Oklahoma for about 8 years. And then my wife and we decided, we wanted kind of a change of pace. So we started looking up in New England. She's got a lot of family up here, and just happened to get a job in Vermont. And it was for a nonprofit, but it was so nonprofit that after 2 years I was let go. So, uh, then I had marketable skills, I'm sure, but I had a friend of mine that said, I may have something for you. Don't do anything stupid. And I was like, I have 2 months to, pay my mortgage. She said, I will find something. I've got something for you. So, she actually started me on, um, helping to create events, but also doing like marketing and research and that sort of thing. So all of those kind of tied together, and I've been doing a lot of uh, over the years. I did a lot of stuff in like tourism marketing. So I would get hired by the upper peninsula of Michigan to come and help craft, some marketing tools and techniques and concepts for them. And then I would get hired by Puerto Rico or different destinations to, unfortunately have to go down to the islands during the wintertime and, suss out what was going on and help them out.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was really great. So I would spend about half my year kind of doing these research marketing kind of things, and then the other half I got hired by a company that did events. So they did like indoor events, like travel expos or home shows or that sort of thing. So
Mhm.
we did that for a number of years, and then myself and some partners we created a company, and we started doing our own. Travel shows, events, and it took us, all over New England, Minneapolis. We did stuff in California, Puerto Rico, um, and about that time, um, I kind of had this hankering for barbecue, like really good barbecue, and it's tough to find in Vermont. The plate there are some great places, but a lot of times it's either very expensive. It's kind of that farm to table sort of thing, which that's perfect.
Mhm.
But where I grew up in Oklahoma City, coming out of Oklahoma City, every other corner has a really good, really great barbecue place, a joint, a
Yeah.
barbecue joint. And so that was kind of what I had, kind of kind of what I really wanted. And so I kind of had a light bulb moment, and I was like, if I can't if I can't find barbecue, I will bring it to me. And so that was the whole thing. I started barbecue contests because I wanted to have barbecue that I could partake of. So in 2014, I spent about 9 to 10 months on a journey throughout all of New England. Visited contests and festivals throughout most every state. I didn't go to Maine, but went to New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Connecticut, New York, and basically started talking to teams and trying to find out what works, what doesn't work, what do you like, and then pull all pulled all of that together. I had a conversation with our local Rotary Club, and they said, "Hey, we're looking to do a fundraiser, do something unique. So let's build a barbecue contest and festival." So that was kind of my first. I had done events before, but that was sort of my first outdoor event festival thing like that. And so we did that for 2 years, and the Rotary Club, they just decided that the effort wasn't quite worth the return. So they said, you brought the concept to us. You own Green Mountain Barbecue Championship. So take what take it, do whatever you want with it. So now I have a barbecue contest. I have lots of contacts with teams and with judges, but I don't have anywhere to put it. And I was talking to probably like up to Barbecue Tim, um, some of our some of our other buddies, Smoking Barrels from Vermont, a couple of other folks, and said, "Hey, what do I do?" And they said, "Hey, Ted Lorson is doing contests at a campground. Call him, see what he did, because it seems like it's a cool idea." So I called Ted and I said, "Tell me about this." And he said, "Yep, easy peasy, man. Teams back in, they plug in, they hook up, they are good to go. If you can also talk the the campground into taking your trash out, you know all the better. But otherwise, your restrooms are taken care of, your water's taken care of, your electric's taken care of, your trash is taken care of. All you got to do is bring, oh, and your ash is taken care of. You just put it in the pit
Yeah.
ring. And they said, really, the only thing you need to do is bring some grease buckets, and you are good to go. And I was like, that sounds pretty good. So um, again, went on another little journey through Vermont, and did a lot of phone calls and you know trying to tell people what we were trying to do. And you know no one ever understands what we're trying to do the first time we talk about it.
Yeah.
So finally went and probably looked at a dozen locations in Vermont. And I started to kind of think, okay, I need something that is pretty easy to get to, with big trailers. And not all of our teams are, master backer uppers and all of that. So I need to find places that are, pretty central, easy to get to. So I found a really great location, and we've been with them since day one, just right at Braintree or Randolph, Vermont. And so it's one of those kind of things where the first year, they're looking over your shoulder every second, and they're going to every site, and they're making sure everyone's doing everything exactly correct. And then after no one burns the place down, because we have all these barbecuers, they're like, okay, I guess it's not that bad after all. So, you know, I found this location, and I made an announcement. Hey, I found a place for it. Not like 3 days later, 4 days later, someone said, "Oh, Rhode Island doesn't have a contest anymore. You should look at doing a contest in Rhode Island." I'm like, "Oh, okay." So same deal. Lots of research, lots of phone calls. Once I get the phone calls, then I went down and visited again another 10, 12 campgrounds in Rhode Island. Finally settled on one, settled on terms, all of those sorts of details, and made an announcement. Hey, I'm going to do a contest in Rhode Island. It's an auto. Awesome. And not 3 or 4 days later, someone said, "Hey, there aren't any contests in Massachusetts anymore." I was like, all right, if I have to do, another one in Massachusetts, now I have, I've got 3 states, I've got a brand. So my brand is Campground BBQ.
Yep.
So that's where it kind of arose. And we started with, I think in 2017, we had the one in Vermont. 2018, we added, Rhode Island and Massachusetts, and then 2019 started going big. We had added extra ones in. Maybe the dates are off a year. I don't know. It all kind of flows together.
It all blends
It
together.
it is. It does. But yeah, we did stuff over by Cape Cod in Mass. We uh, did a contest right around Saratoga Springs in New York. I never touched New Hampshire. I always let Ted have it. I was like, he's
Mhm.
got an auto. I don't want to go in there. And I had Vermont. So I had, contests. And then someone said, you should look at moving into New Jersey. So that was kind of a scary moment for us, because I didn't know any of those teams.
Yeah.
Now there's some of, really my best, some of my best friends. Not saying anything, Grandpa Val. And so, um, and then I've had contests where they flopped. They haven't worked. Or we've had incidents where we got kicked out of the campground for issues. And unfortunately, some of them were related to teams, some of them were not. New owners, whatever it might be. And so,
Mhm.
kind of over the last 3, 4 years, I've sort of consolidated in the contests that I have are the ones that, work. I know teams will come to them. They're pretty centrally located, and they're in really great locations.
Oh, absolutely. Mark Cookston, I love Campground BBQ. Look forward to it every year. Jeremy does an amazing job. Thank you.
Thank you.
100%. I cannot disagree there. I agree with you 1,000%. And then Jen Lee, she says RV parks are where it's at. Absolutely, absolutely. Like Jeremy, like you said, you know, pull in, plug in, set up, water, electricity, ready to go.
Well,
Can't get more simple.
yeah, and the other thing about it is it's just a more relaxed atmosphere.
Yeah.
Our barbecue teams, they work all week long. They are looking forward to getting away from the job, the house, the whatever, and coming to do barbecue. But and I do events that are in fields and on parking lots, so I know the difference. Um, but there's just a unique character when you're at a campground, because you can just chill out. Everyone's got a fire going. You're doing s'mores. You're having some beverages with your buddies. You're going bouncing. Uh, site to site to site, and
Hmm.
it's just a really great relaxed atmosphere. And also a lot of teams are able to bring their families and stuff, because there's kids areas or there's pools or whatever. So it's I think it actually helps with you know families kind of getting into the barbecue scene, as opposed to just the husband and his buddy.
Hmm.
So I like that. I like that.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. um, so, like I said, the first contest I ever cooked was the your Granite State at Budweiser or
Yep.
Anheuser Busch, however you want to call it. And it was an incredible event. Now you have moved it this year. Am I correct? No
Yes.
longer at Budweiser.
Yeah, yeah. We had some, feedback from the teams, and they said, we would love to get back to the campgrounds. We love, the festival and all that stuff. Um, and I kind of got a heads up that things were changing, in the company. So I felt like it was just the right time to make the move.
Yeah.
So they are still having the festival and some other stuff. But
It-
got to move.
The thing,
Got to move.
the things run their course.
Yeah,
Kind
yeah,
of
they do.
time to get back to like you said, a lot of the guys they love the campgrounds.
Yeah,
While Budweiser was a nice venue, plenty of room,
yeah,
it was a big giant field.
yep.
And we had the old snake of a couple miles worth of garden hoses
Yep.
and
Bring your
connectors everywhere.
bring your Y connector. I
Yep,
remember
Y connector and two hoses.
I remember so Patrick Ayer from is the Canadian team. Um, uh, Wonderful guy. He was like, Jeremy, when am I going to get my water? And I looked down and I was like, oh shoot, no one's brought the hoses. No one's hooked up hoses. So you kind of had to hey, I'm borrowing your hose. We're working it up. I'm borrowing your hose. We're going to finally, 15 minutes later, get it down to Patrick. And he was like, okay, thank you. I was like, merci. So,
Yep.
and that's, you have those challenges. We've done contests where, I remember the and I remember the second year we did the contest in Vermont, the Green Mountain contest, and it was in a field, and we didn't have the water was elaborate, but we didn't have enough electric. You know, the Rotary Club was like, "How can they use so much electric?" I was like, well, I mean, look at those rigs. Uh,
Yeah.
I think actually we tied into Humphreys. Humphreys ran their generator, and they had like 3 or 4 teams plugged off of them. So I always I'm in awe of how amazing barbecue teams are. We
Hmm.
talk about barbecue family, and it really is something like that. That when there's a need, people will pitch in. I can't tell you how many times when we've needed to make an event a qualifier because a team dropped out or got sick or had an accident or whatever, and we're at 23 teams or 24 teams. It's like what can we do? And someone will say, hey, we'll break apart our team, and it won't be the greats, the best entries. And I was like, we just need entries. And
Yeah.
so actually, Grandpa Val's, they've done this for us a number of times. So Aaron is part of their extended family, and we're like, all right, Aaron, here's your cook area. Here's your food. You don't have to do anything to it. Here's your cooker. Here's your smoker. We're gonna tell you when to put it on, and you can take it off whenever you think you're ready. And he was like, okay. So he was completely separate. He had his own food. He has everything. And oh, yeah, rough cut. Yeah, he helped us out last year at
Sometimes those entries win.
yeah, in Colombia, and he got a bunch of calls. So, that's what I find amazing. And then you're like, who's got some extra ribs? Who's got some pork? And
Mhm.
someone's like, I've got a flat, that I can lend to you, and not with the expectation that they'll get it back, but we all work together to make it happen. So it really is barbecue family.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And where is he had John Long is saying, there it is. Jeremy, the best organizer in the Northeast, loved the campground series for his son Nick.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
Nick's awesome.
the
He's
old
an
disco
amazing
brisket.
young chef. Hmm.
Absolutely, young
Yep.
guy. Still, I believe still in high school.
Yeah.
He might have graduated last year, but yeah, he was the youngest competitor for a while. He technically still is, but puts out great product and loves what he's doing, and you gotta love it. And like you were saying, the team's always helping each other. Whenever I'm getting organized to load up to head out somewhere, my checklist literally has stupid stuff on it. And because you never know.
Right.
I got two, 3, 4 boxes of toothpicks.
Oh,
Why? Well, you never know. Someone might need them. Sure as shit. Someone is. Oh, I need some a bottle of vegetable oil.
yeah.
Do you need a full bottle, or can you get no? I need a full.
Mm,
Hey, and you got a cup of oil?
right.
As a matter of fact, I do.
Have you got any
Just
of
a
that
little.
blue parquet?
Yeah,
Yep.
Do you have any Grey Poupon?
Right.
I got that too. Jeff Mullen, what's up? Um, but yeah, but Jeremy, you reached out, and first off, thank you so much. It's going to be great to talk to you this evening. But let's get to what we're going to talk about. The
Sure.
Grand American Barbecue World Championship. Where's my notes? August 2nd and 3rd in Port Jervis, New York.
Yes.
Saturday's Invitational, a $50,000 purse. Sunday Open, $15,000 purse. How did this all come about? I know you and I talked about it briefly before, but to fill everybody in, getting a world championship competition in the Northeast.
Well, and I have to say, I didn't want to do this at first. So most people know Scott Tousignan, who he's been my barbecue right hand man for since day one, essentially. So everyone knows Scotty, and he was like, I think the third year we did this, he was like, we should do a world championship. I was like, what? Are you crazy? And he said, no, we can do this, man. We know how to do this. We know how to do events. We can do this. I was like, let's sit on it for a bit. Um, and so, yeah, like 6, 7 years later, we had a conversation right about a year ago with another festival organizer at Port Jervis, and they have a really beautiful property. It's it's probably 3 football fields worth of just grass in front. It's I guess retired. I don't know. It's a former Olympic level horse training facility. And the background of it is actually very interesting. It was previously owned by the Sun Young Moon, who was the cult leader of the Moonies. So he created this whole facility and he spared zero expense. And he built it for his daughter, who was into horse riding, horsemanship, I guess. So it includes, all the festival grounds in the front, and there's a huge covered arena, which seats 6,000 people. And apparently, so he brought in loam from Hawaii for the horse ring, and apparently it doesn't pick up dust or something when the horses are trotting around. And then there's a huge, I don't know, 100 stall stables or something like that. So really cool. And I don't know what happened between him and the current owner. I'm guessing there was, I don't know, IRS or something involved, but I don't know the specifics. But at any rate, we are able to kind of access this property, and I can't wait to see, how it kind of evolves in the future. We've got tons of plans and ideas. So they contacted me in April and they said, "Hey, we got your name from Kansas City Barbecue Society, KCBS. They said you do contests." I said, I do. Okay, well, we want to do one June 15th. And I was like, um, let's talk about next year.
Yeah.
It's a little too soon to do something. And I think also there's another contest that same weekend, maybe was it the one in Connecticut at the
June 15th. Oh,
yeah, yeah,
it's
Sun,
the
yeah,
yeah
Sun,
with Kel Phelps
yeah.
in
Well,
Long Island.
this year it is, but last year it
Oh,
was
oh,
the Sun
last year.
Barbecue Festival. At
Yes,
the uh, at the casino.
at the
Actually,
casino. Yeah.
that's a whole other discussion. I wonder, are they doing that again? So put a pin in that. We'll come back to that in case you have any scoop, because I'd love to hear. But so anyway, they contacted me, and I said, no, we can't do anything this year, but let's come take a look. And came and looked at the property, and Scott and I were like, wow, it's just amazing opportunities there. And so we're having the conversation with them, and they said, okay, so you don't want to do a contest this year. What would it take to make a world championship? And I was like, Scott looked at me and I was like, oh, come on, man. He was like, come on, it's time. And I said, money. It just takes money to put one on. And,
Mhm.
knowing people and there's a lot more than just money. I would have to say, knowing what you're doing and hopefully loving what you're doing would would fall into that. Oh, okay. Let's see. Mohegan. Interesting. Oh, well,
Lost too much money.
yeah.
The last thing a casino wants to do is lose money.
No. When a casino loses money, that's not a good thing. So,
No.
so yeah, so we went and visited the site last year during one of their events. Made some suggestions. They're actually doing that again in June, and we said, all right, let's start talking. Let's figure it out. And so again, the very first conversation I had about this, I called Bill Gillespie. I said,
Mhm.
Bill, and Scott was on the phone. I said, Bill, here's the idea, here's the concept. And I said, I want to be realistic. We can't get over our skis on this thing, and we don't want to do a one and done and look and be embarrassed. And he said, let's talk to some other folks. I think we can do it. So we got, we talked to Urkel with,
Mhm. Uncle
Uncle
Pigs.
Pigs, talked to Mark with Faded, Fire at the End of the Day, talked to a couple of other folks, Childs with Wolf's Revenge, and just kind of ran the concept by them before we even put ink to paper, and they said, you know, let's look at dates. Dates would be critical because you want to pick dates that there's very few events going on, ideally in a perfect world, so that teams have the opportunity to come and there's not 20 other events going on.
Mhm.
So then I think after that, the next call was with KCBS. Talked to Rod Gray, and I said, Rod, here's kind of the 2 weekends we're looking at. He said, let's look at the schedule. And he said, okay, so the second one you're looking at, kind of late August, there's like 20 other events east of the Mississippi. I said, yeah, that's probably no good. He said, oh, but the first one you're looking at, the first weekend, there's a contest in Michigan, and there's one in Canada, Upper Canada. And I said, do you think there'd be an issue? And he said, no. I mean, technically, there's plenty of distance between everything. And so, again, went back to our trust, our board of of advisors, I guess, and ran all that by them, and they said, call the folks in Canada who are really great friends of ours, because didn't want to step on their toes,
Yeah.
and we love them. We love them coming down. So called them up and said, hey, here's what we're thinking. The only date that makes any sort of sense is on the date of yours. And they said, you know what, go for it. And we'll suss it out in the end. We won't worry about it. I said, okay. So now we've got the concept in the, and now the advisors are saying, okay, go talk to this guy, this guy, this guy, and this guy, and get some ideas and suggestions. So talk to a couple of other large contest organizers, and again, trying to talk about what we're doing, and all of that. So they gave us really great advice, and they said, definitely, come check out the Royal. You could go to the Jack, and you could go the other ones, but the Royal is kind of the similar in format and style to what you're wanting to do.
Mhm.
So I think we announced it in October of last year. To date, we currently have 35 teams that are signed up for the Saturday Invitational. Those teams also will compete on Sunday. So Saturday is an invitational only open to grand champions and reserve grand champions. And the kind of the cutoff period was between April 1 of 2023 and April 1 of 2025. Now
Mhm.
we are uh, I've talked with Matt Pereira. I've talked with Kathy, and with Jeff Mullen of Fat Kids. And, we are extending to teams that take a GC or an RGC in in these last 2 months here. We are extending to them a what we call a wild card opportunity. So they're and then they can come and compete over the next 2 years if they want. But the wild card would allow a team who's hot right now to come compete right now this year, and we think it's a
Okay.
cool idea. And we have a couple of other teams that signed up to compete in the wild as a wild card selection. So once we kind of get to uh, our uh, so May 31st is sort of our deadline. So after May 31st, we'll kind of pool who our wild cards are. So we've had 5 teams submit for that so far. So those 5 teams would join the other 35. So now we've got 40 teams competing on Saturday for the $50,000 purse. And then on Sunday, all of those plus another, I grabbed a couple more teams this weekend. So we're right at 14 more. This takes us to 49 for Sunday. Sunday would be
Oh, that's wonderful.
a New York State championship. So that one
Mhm.
ties into Team of the Year for KCBS. It also ties in as a qualifier for the Jack the Royal. Um, so I want to hit, got to hit 50. I really want to hit 50 on Saturday, but definitely want to hit 50 on Sunday. And then we've got the automatic. We don't have to worry about the governor's proclamation and all that kind of stuff. Um, so we're so close. We're so close.
Yeah.
And I know there are some teams that have been just kind of waiting. And in fact, we talked to some this weekend. They're like, okay, yeah, we're definitely doing it. We're in it. We're coming. So we're really excited about that. And I was talking to you. One of the unique things that we want to do with this is it is a barbecue festival on one side, and it's a barbecue championship on the other side. And there's sort of a line in the middle. So the barbecue festival, we've got really great vendors coming in. We've got Handsome Devil, which is a spectacular
Mm-hmm.
competition team and a restaurant out of Newburgh, New York. Miller's
Yep.
Backyard Barbecue. We've got Fox Street Barbecue, and a really cool one called Kimchi Smoke. They're out of New Jersey, and they have kind of a sort of an Asian, and he doesn't like to call it fusion. It's an Asian flavored Texas barbecue mix, but it's not fusion.
Okay.
It's a mix.
Got
um,
it. Got it. Got it.
so we've got just spectacular barbecue vendors coming in to kind of satisfy the public side, so that the barbecue teams, they can concentrate on the championship. We are working on a Friday night social for teams only, judges, just a Friday night get together. So we've got a band hired. We'll probably just do like hot dogs or something like that.
Mhm.
And just a chance for teams to kind of come together, have some fun, listen to some music, have some beer, whatever it is, and just make it a really cool, fun experience. Kind of show off our hospitality.
Wonderful. Wonderful. But yeah, it's like you said, it finally came to fruition. With it having it on the back of your mind for so long, and then things happen for a reason. Everything fell into
Yeah.
place, and it's like, okay, don't have a choice.
Right.
Everything's pointing in the same direction, so let's do it. So that's incredible. That all
Timothy
the
says,
teams for
Billy.
the.
Timothy says, "Is Billy cooking the dogs?"
He knows a thing or two about cooking dogs.
That's funny. That's very funny.
Oh, I have to tell this. I was talking to my friend Jonathan the other day, and on his show, the Grab 'em in the Brisket guys, they have this section called Barbecue Wins and Barbecue Fails. There was a guy, I'm listening to it, and there was a guy talking and says that he was at the Jack Daniels and they were cooking hot dog. They were cooking the chef's choice. And he had cooked this, and he goes, and you know what? I fucking lose to a guy who cooked hot dogs. And I started barrel rolling. I'm pissing my pants in my truck listening to it, going, I know who cooked those dogs. I literally got on the phone with Jonathan, and I'm like, yo, I'm listening to the show again, and I go, here, check your phone. He goes, what's this? I go, those are the dogs that beat that guy on the barbecue. He goes, you're shitting me. I go, no, that's my friend Billy Gillespie. First place anything at the Jack chili dogs.
Yeah.
Oh, but yeah, the dogs. Yeah, definitely have Billy cooking the dogs.
Okay.
He knows what he's doing.
A big stand up next to it. Hi, I'm Bill. Yeah. Actually, I should get a life size of him and just post it around. Hi, I'm world champion Bill. Yeah.
That's it. Make sure you got his orange shorts, game day shorts on the cutout. But
well, he apparently tanked something on Saturday, and he threw the shorts away, and Mark from Faded ran him up his flagpole.
That's once again it's the friendships and the brotherhoods and family that you can pull something like that off, and everyone's gonna sit there and laugh their ass about it, and that story is for years to come, and that's what it's all about. That making the relationships, friendships, the families, the memories. There's so many world problems that get solved at a barbecue contest. All Washington has to do is come and sit down with us.
Absolutely.
Was it Anthony Bourdain? One of his famous quotes was, we can't solve world peace, but sit down with some barbecue is a great start.
Right.
You know, and it's so truthful. But man, Jeremy, New York, June 2nd and 3rd. Um,
August.
oh,
Don't
Jesus
rush it
Christ,
on me. Don't rush it.
Jesus Christ,
Yeah. But
yeah, August
yeah,
2nd and 3rd,
our deadline is May 31st.
May thirty
We may,
first.
be able to kind of extend it a little bit. But yeah, if you're interested, you're in the area, you're a world champion, you're a grand champion, you're a reserve champion, or you just want to throw in, come join us. We've got 7 world champions signed up so far, and folks coming all the way from the Midwest. We've got Colorado, Texas, someone from California, folks from the Southeast, and of course, almost every team that's won in the Northeast is coming. So it's going to be a really great mix of flavor profiles. So I'm going to be really excited to see who can win this thing.
Oh yeah.
Is it going to be a Northeast team? Is it going to be and our judges are also coming from everywhere as well. So we want
Yeah.
a really wide representation. It's not Joe Blow off the street. These are all certified KCBS judges. So, and we may even, we're still deciding how we kind of allocate. Some people will help teams. If teams need runners, we have solo
Hmm.
teams coming in. They may need runners to help with that whole process.
Yeah.
So we're going to put everyone to work. We're going to have, we're just going to, show off our New England hospitality, our Northeast hospitality.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, to sign up for this, is it on the Campground BBQ website, or does the Grand Am have its own website? So, where can everybody go and sign up for this if they'd like?
So there is campgroundbbq.com. That's the series that's all located at the campgrounds. And then the Grand Am is Grand, GRAND, am bbq.com. So grandambbq.com. There's a site there. There's a one of the little clickies is for teams. Judges also can sign up. So yeah, they are separate, but it's being produced by the team that does the Campground BBQ series, and we've
Yeah,
got a little experience, a little
just
bit,
a little bit, just a little
just
bit.
a little, just a little.
Yeah, you got a finger in the game for sure.
Yeah, I've done a contest or two.
Yep, for sure, for sure. Alexander Batko, Grand Am will be my first world championship. That's awesome. That's
He's
awesome.
he's a coming up team. I love the thing I like most when I'm doing awards, and people don't know this about me. I don't know who the winners are. I never know. I get a piece of paper. I intentionally tell my reps fold it up so it goes 11th place down to first. So and we go out to 11th because we do wild child and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Only to 11th. So I say go out to 11th down, and then people will see me. I'm kind of scrolling. They don't understand what I'm doing. A lot of people think I know. I have zero idea who wins. Now I will look ahead on the corner to see, oh, I've got a 180 or I've got a 700, so that I can kind of prep myself for it.
Yeah.
But I don't know who won them. I just know it's there. And then that way I'm not embarrassed when I get to a 180 and I don't have a pin and the sticker and all that stuff. So I want to be as surprised as the teams are when I'm announcing. And what I love the most is when I get brand new teams that get calls. Like this past weekend, we
Mhm.
had Professor Smoke get a 3rd place, and he was like, "Are you sure? Are you reading it right?" And I went and double checked with the reps, and they're like, "Yeah, Professor Smoke." I said, "Yeah, Professor Smoke, come on up. It's 3rd place. Come get your trophy." And they were so excited because they've been
Yeah.
working their tails off, at contest after contest, and you love to see those little growth moments.
Mhm.
We had one team that they were just having a lousy weekend, and then they got a 1st place in our ancillary for Taylor ham or pork roll, whichever side of New York you're on. And
Yep.
that brightened, you could see the life come back to their eyes. So I love seeing, our teams get calls. I try to call out as deep as I can, pay out as deep as I can. Um, so you mentioned $50,000. We will be paying out to fifth place overall for both days. So I think $15,000 for grand during the invitational, 7,500 down to I think $1,000 for fifth place, and then we will pay out to each 1 through 10 for each of the 4 categories. And we have some really amazing trophies coming, courtesy of Humphrey Smokers, who
Yes.
they out of 10 years, dozens and dozens of trophies. These are the best I've ever had. I have to hand it to Humphreys. It's incredible. They are absolutely awesome.
They are.
They're
Chad
heavy.
and Nicole are incredible.
Yeah. So the grand champion trophy is actually going to be about 2 feet wide, and this is for both days. We're doing almost the same trophies, except the one on Saturday will say world champion, and then the one on Sunday will say grand champion. So it's going to be about 2 feet wide, 2 feet long, 2 feet tall, made out of steel. They said it's going to be heavy. It's going to be like 30, 40 pounds. I said, oh yeah, heavier the better.
That's the way. Yep, absolutely.
Like, I gotta lift this thing up. So we're thinking of all those little details. We're not going to get it 100% perfect this year, but we're going to do our darndest and tweak it for next year and improve it. I when I went to the Royal, I saw lots of things I really loved that they did, and then I saw things that I would improve. And so, like it seems simple, but like having a sign for where teams are. They have a sign for the teams, but I don't know where they're from. Are they from Missouri?
Yeah.
Are they from Georgia? So I thought, you know what? Let's just put that on there. So it's kind of a cool thing, when people are coming up. Oh, they're from Connecticut. They're from Colorado. They're from Alaska. They're from overseas, wherever it might be. So trying to think of those sorts of little things, and we'll keep improving as we go along.
Absolutely. Well, Jeremy, this is going to be one hell of a contest, brother. And like I said, my hat is off to you. For being able to cook a few of your events already. Nothing but positive. The hell's the word I'm going to? Positive experience all the way around.
Thank you.
Because it was it was my very first Masters Series contest ever. Was one of the Granite States, and I roll in there still wet behind the ears, and I knew I had sent off a few different emails on a couple different things to you, and you were so great in getting back, and I would do this, I wouldn't do that. You shot it straight, and I appreciate it, and I thank you for that. And anybody getting into this wonderful sport of ours, do it. And look at Jeremy's, look at the others around, and ask questions.
Yep.
These promoters are so happy to help you out because they want your experience to be the best it can be, to keep you going into our crazy ass world of competitive barbecue cooking. Hey, Uncle Steve, what's up, brother? Thank you for tuning in, brother. But yeah, you do an incredible job, Jeremy. My hat's off to you. And this Grand American Barbecue World Championship is going to be fantastic. And thank you for bringing a world championship to the Northeast.
I'm excited now. I had to get sold on it, but I'm excited now. I think, we've got a lot of momentum behind us, and I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to see it in action. I can't wait to see who wins. Who's going to be our first world champion? Is it
Yeah.
going to be a Northeast team? Is it going to be a team that's, uh, dominating the rest of the country? Who knows? It's going to be great. It's going to be
Absolutely.
exciting and a lot of fun.
All they can do is put it in the box. That's it.
Yep,
Put it
that's
in the
it.
box.
Put it in a box.
But Jeremy, thank you, brother, for taking the time to join me to talk about everything Campground BBQ and the Grand Am. And, thank you for everything you do for barbecue, brother.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, and thanks for all the people for joining us and all the great questions and comments. We're a barbecue family, and we will keep rolling along together and helping each other out.
Absolutely. But thank you, Jeremy. I appreciate it again, brother.
Thank you.
So that's it for this week, folks. Thank you all for tuning in. I appreciate it. Catch the video on Facebook and YouTube. Catch the audio, Spotify, Apple, Podbean, any audio catchers. We're there. Questions and comments, please send them to pitlifebbqpodcast@gmail.com. Like always, subscribe, like, rate, and review. Hit that share button. Next week, it is going to be a wild one. I can almost put money on that. I am going to be joined by John, James, and Jan, and Raul of the Grab 'em in the Brisket podcast out of Texas. They go live every Thursday night at 8 o'clock Eastern time, 7 Central, and incredible show. Great guys, everything fun. And I got to get in touch with John real quick, because we might have to, and anybody who's familiar with their show, we might have to do a combined Grab 'em in the Brisket and Pit Life Barbecue beer review. I hope they like it. I've been practicing that. But tune in next week when the Grab 'em in the Brisket guys come on in, and hope we light the world on fire. But thank you all for tuning in. And until next week, keep the smoke rolling.